All right, one last video before our takeaways. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how one of my favorite authors, who's intrigued me since my youth, has come up in this writing. Maybe some of you know H.P. Lovecraft and his classic writing. The Call of Cthulhu is the famous one. There are lots of H.P. Lovecraft film adaptations. Some of them are, I would say, good, though most people would say they're all bad. But H.P. Lovecraft and cosmic horror, the unnameable terror, the damned knowledge, and in fact, the conception that there is an entire truthful universe out there that does not give a rip about humanity, it plays into this. So now I've talked about witch books. Now, witch books, the books of these witches, are magic books, not books of magic. They are not books that explain magic. They are books that have magical power. Now, the witches describe these, or the anti-witchers describe these books as, having statements like, read on if you dare, or having very intricate descriptions of this and that. But none of the descriptions the young witchers say of books actually line up with any books that have ever been published. So that's the point. They're not books of magic. You can't find a newer version or recent publication because that wouldn't make any sense. It's not about the information in the book. The book itself has power. These magic books are speculative. They don't exist in reality. If anybody has books of magic, it's the unwitchers. And in fact, when Favret-Saada gets a copy of one from a parish priest, she hands it to her unwitcher and she confiscates it and takes it away, never really looks at it. So nobody has ever seen these witch books, though the unwitchers, like I said, seem to have a number of these books themselves. These witch books initiate them into witchery and give them the power of witchcraft, but they don't exist. What I'm intrigued by, though, is a statement that Favret-Saada makes. She invokes H.P. Lovecraft, who's an American author from the early 20th century, late 19th century, very much in the vein of Edgar Allan Poe. He was a writer of what we call weird fiction, this fiction of the strange and cosmic horror. And he is very popular in France, as is Edgar Allan Poe. Now, recently, Poe and Lovecraft have become quite popular in the West as well. But even when I was asking my PhD advisor about a story I'd read in H.P. Lovecraft that I thought lined up with a Sanskrit source, he said something along the lines of he'd never read Lovecraft in English, only in French. Now, he's an American, but he lived in France for many years, and he just never read Lovecraft in English. So the French love Lovecraft. They love Poe. And we see here that a writer, Favret-Saada, who does not really speak English, I don't think, or read English, she'd read a number of Lovecraft's books in French. Now, she invokes a common theme in Lovecraft's writing, his short stories. And that is that there is a knowledge about the true nature of reality. And in that true reality, the universe does not care about humans. It is oriented toward non-humans. They could be elder gods who just don't care, cosmic forces that have no truck with the human experience. The world, the earth is just a fleck of nothing in the face of just a cosmic wildness that is not human, does not want to be human, and might even be anti-human. This non-human centered universe is the exact opposite, in fact, of Christianity. Many of Lovecraft's characters learn this truth, and it drives them mad, unable to recognize living in the world with the awful truth of reality. Favret-Saada is reminded of Lovecraft's protagonist because she's learned about witchcraft, and she's now worried, having learned this, she won't be able to unlearn it. She's worried that, I gotta get this. Now that she sees witchcraft, how can she ever look away? Maybe she's found the truth of the world, and it's horrible. How can she keep herself from going mad, knowing that the nature of reality is humans sucking off the energies of others to enrich themselves? And if this sort of vampirism that is the nature of reality and of human interactions, how can you love? How can you have a decent relationship with anyone? How can you not just be afraid all the time? How can you not go mad in the face of this damned knowledge, this damned truth? So hearing about the death of Pierre, the young non-witch boy, and about its inevitability, I went home in a state of utter confusion, remembering those stories by Lovecraft, in which a strikingly similar situation to mine is described. Out of curiosity, a person equipped with solid scientific knowledge, usually the narrator, brutally enters another world which his system of references cannot describe or name. Throughout this confrontation with the unnameable, the inconceivable, the immeasurable, and so on, he goes on wishing that this other world, which he now knows, could remain nothing but an illusion or madness. But his wish cannot come true. And the hero has to accept the idea that he can no longer deny the reality of this other archaic world, perpetually threatening to invade our civilization. What I had tried to take as stories, those of Bewitched, as much as those of Lovecraft, had brutally been brought to bear on reality. And a young man, said by everyone to be doomed, had just died. When Pierre dies, witchcraft fulfills itself. Witchcraft is somehow real. And she asks herself, as she herself is becoming more bewitched, how can she ever look back on the world and see it as she once did? That's a heck of a thing. I'll catch you next time. Take a break and come back for the takeaways.